Hey Daily Dosers, Kristen from the Fallbrook campus here. So have you ever seen the movie Bruce Almighty? If you aren't familiar with it, it is a hilarious movie starring Jim Carrey, and he plays Bruce, a news anchor who complains to God all too often. So God, played by Morgan Freeman, eventually endows Bruce with all of his God powers to kind of teach Bruce how difficult it is to be in control. And my favorite scene of the whole movie is Bruce is at the news station where he works, and this guy named Evan, played by Steve Carell, is about to deliver the news live. And so Bruce, who's been passed up for a promotion by Evan, is a little jealous and has now seen an opportunity to use his God powers to exact a little revenge on Evan. And so in the scene, as Evan gets started reading the news, Bruce takes control of his voice and makes it super high pitched, and then just makes him say all these ridiculous things, and it starts to just get obnoxious, and now he's just making sounds. And if you've seen it, you're probably laughing a little bit to yourself right now because it's the funniest scene in the whole movie. If you haven't seen it, YouTube just that scene. It's totally worth it. And every time I watch that movie, I think, how frustrating would it be to be Evan and have your voice taken over and there's nothing you can do about it, and you're saying all these embarrassing and obnoxious things and you're stuck and there's nothing you can do to control it. But I think about it a little bit, and how crazy is it that we get ourselves into trouble all the time with our words, and supposedly we do have complete control over what we say. Or do we? I think that's kind of a yes and no response. I think, yeah, well, we're not ventriloquist dummies. Nobody's speaking for us. Nobody's taking control of the words that we say. But I think speaking is kind of that voluntary and involuntary action, kind of like breathing. So you can really concentrate on your breathing, and you can make every breath intentional, and you can breathe in and breathe out, but that's not sustainable. You're not going to be aware of your breathing all the time. So when you're unaware of your breathing, your brain takes over so that you don't pass out, and it goes into an automatic response. And just like our words, we can be very conscious of every single word. We can be very intentional and careful with every single word. But again, that's not really sustainable. Most of the time in daily life, as we're just going about our business, our words go into autopilot. So if our brain is controlling our breathing, what is controlling our words when we're in autopilot? And these are Jesus's words in Luke 6:45. It says, "The good person out of the good treasure of the heart produces good, and the evil person out of the evil treasure produces evil. For it is out of the abundance of the heart the mouth speaks." The control center for your mouth is your heart. Your heart is the motor behind your mouth. When we go into autopilot and we're just speaking, whatever's stored in our heart comes out, whether we permit it to or not. Because in James it says, all kinds of animals, birds, reptiles, and sea creatures are being tamed and have been tamed by mankind. But no human being can tame the tongue. It is a restless evil full of deadly poison. How crazy is it that we've figured out how to train these giant whales and birds and lizards, and people can even train octopuses and snails, yet the Bible says it's impossible to tame and train the tongue, because the control center for the tongue is not our conscious mind, it's the heart. And in Jeremiah it says, the heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. Our words constantly reveal the condition of our heart, what's stored in there, whether we permit that stuff to come out or not, it eventually comes out. And so if the equation is good treasure equals good heart, and good heart equals good words, then how do we get good treasure in our heart? And I love what Larry says all the time. He says, garbage in, garbage out. And I think that's so true for what we're talking about. What's in our heart is what is going to come out of our mouth. So if we're putting garbage in, we're going to get garbage out of our mouth. So the question becomes, what do we think about? What do we talk about? What are we dwelling on? What are we allowing to influence our thinking? And I think at this point, it's really tempting to say, well, I don't watch any bad movies or listen to bad music so I guess I'm good. But there's those sneaky things like jealousy that cause us to talk bad about other people, or insecurity, and it causes us to blame others. Or maybe it's dark thoughts or negativity that cause us to say things that rob joy from our family and friends. What have we allowed to make a home in our heart that is now coming out in our words? Because Proverbs 4:23 says, above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it, including your words. So, clean heart, clean mouth, garbage in, garbage out.